If you've paid any attention to technology news in the last few years, then you've almost certainly heard the word backdoor thrown around a lot. Backdoors are always brought up during consumer privacy conversations and arguments regarding the safety of technology users. But what exactly is all this talk about? And why is the National Security Agency, or NSA, so determined to force tech companies into building backdoors for them? In today's video, we'll outline what you need to know about backdoors in tech and why many governments are extremely interested in having access to them. What is a software backdoor? To fully understand this complex ethical, legal, privacy battle, it's important to first understand what exactly we mean by building backdoors into software. Broadly speaking, a tech backdoor is any means of bypassing traditional security measures to gain access to encrypted data and information. Backdoors can be established intentionally or unintentionally. Why would a company intentionally create one of these seemingly nefarious routes of entry? Well, there are actually a few different reasons for these sorts of entries to exist. First and foremost, nearly every government in the world requires tech companies to build in routes for lawful interception. This is a backdoor that is really a bit more like a front door. If you've ever heard of wiretapping, this is just the most recent version of that. Agencies need to obtain a court order to gain access to these channels in which they can monitor the digital activity on a device for an actor they suspect of misdeeds. The process is entirely legal and extremely visible. As such, it isn't really what anyone means when they say backdoor. The next kind of entryway is a network access point. Think of these like maintenance doors for service folks to come in and do some quick work to keep the system running. Major network carriers are required to have the system up and running 99.999% of the time. In order to meet that lofty goal, ongoing maintenance is needed. Large tech companies like Huawei provide this maintenance. When needed, engineers can enter into the system through specially designed computers that track each and every keystroke made. These engineers have access to a wealth of sensitive information and data, but are strictly monitored to perform the necessary tasks and exit the system. Which finally leads us to the third entry point and what everyone is really getting at when they say backdoor. This backdoor is the vulnerability that has been installed either on purpose or by accident and can be exploited by bad actors and security agencies to secretly gain access to encrypted data and information. These entry points can appear really anywhere in the network in a seemingly endless number of different forms. In 2013, Edward Snowden, the former NSA hacker, called the world's attention to these backdoors by revealing that the NSA pressures companies to install these secret backdoors into their products, allowing them to gain access to otherwise secure information without the proper permissions. But why exactly would the NSA be interested in this sort of access? Why does the NSA want backdoors into big tech companies? Well, the simple answer is security. The NSA and its supporters believe that these channels are crucial to protecting the safety of U.S. citizens from malicious threats like terrorism and human traffickers. The issue became very public again in 2015 after two domestic terrorists opened fire at the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino, California, killing 14 people and injuring 22 others. Immediately after this horrendous event, the FBI sought to gather all the evidence and information it could surrounding the event and the men responsible. The FBI demanded that Apple unlock one of the man's iPhones and give the device's data to them for their investigation. Apple refused to do so, citing consumer privacy concerns. The FBI further demanded then that Apple should create a backdoor, allowing law enforcement to seize the information on their own, which was also refused by Apple. The FBI doubled down and publicly outed Apple for not cooperating with the investigation, creating an enormous public pressure campaign. Apple and many other security experts expressed concern about creating a guaranteed way to break into an iPhone. Apple CEO Tim Cook argued that if Apple created what amounts to a tool for cracking open iPhones, and that tool got out into the wild through hacking or carelessness, the security of every iPhone everywhere would be compromised. This isn't a particularly extreme or unfounded fear. Once a particular code exists, you can't exactly put it back in the bottle or stop bad actors from abusing it for their own needs. To invent what they want me to invent, Cook says, puts millions of people at risk. The FBI attempted to argue that this would be specific to this one phone, but everybody knew this wasn't true. Once you break open this one iPhone for evidence, every attorney in the country will be hanging on Apple's door to break open someone else's iPhone for evidence. It's not about one phone, Cook says. It's very much about the future. You have a guy in Manhattan saying, I got 175 phones that I want to take through this process. The guy he's referencing is New York City District Attorney Cyrus Vance, who did, in fact, say that. Major criminal and terror threats like these are the primary motivating reasons the government cites when the NSA advocates for easier access to encrypted data. Following the Snowden leaks in 2013, Apple and several other tech companies turned up their encryption even further to continue protecting consumer privacy to the fullest extent. So what all has changed recently, and what is the NSA working on regarding these backdoors right now? What is the NSA currently doing about backdoors? The NSA, as you might imagine, is considerably tight-lipped about any sort of arrangements it has attempted to make with tech companies and backdoor access to data. Senator Ron Wyden, a leading Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, has taken an aggressive stance towards the NSA. Secret encryption backdoors are a threat to national security and the safety of our families. It's only a matter of time before foreign hackers or criminals exploit them in ways that undermine American national security, Wyden told Reuters. The government shouldn't have any role in planting secret backdoors in encryption technology used by Americans. The NSA refused to comment on any updated procedures, but did note that the agency is working on rebuilding trust between itself and the private sector through helpful measures such as offering information about software flaws. The agency is definitely still seeking backdoor access, though. 3 former senior intelligence agency figures told Reuters that the NSA now requires that before a backdoor is sought, the agency must weigh the potential fallout and arrange for some kind of warning if the backdoor gets discovered and manipulated by adversaries. Defenders of strong encryption say the NSA's sometimes botched efforts to install backdoors in commercial products show the dangers of such requirements. These critics point out that the NSA's efforts create targets for adversaries and undermine public trust in U.S. tech. Undermining the trust compromises ongoing efforts to encourage folks to rebuff Chinese technologies over mounting security fears, since it seems that U.S. gear may also be manipulated in this way. There is at least one known instance of a global adversary taking advantage of a U.S.-created backdoor. In 2015, Juniper Networks Incorporated was compromised by hackers who exploited a backdoor created for the NSA. In a previously unreported statement to members of Congress, Juniper said an unnamed national government had converted the mechanism first created by the NSA. The NSA uses a variety of methods to get companies to install these backdoors. Sometimes they work to strike a commercial deal with a company, providing financial incentive, and other times they set processes such that a company unknowingly adopts a software that the NSA can later break into and gain access. These methods are sneaky and manipulative and drew widespread condemnation when it was first uncovered in 2013. So what are tech companies doing to protect your data, and how can you ensure you are being safe? What you should know about end-to-end encryption. Many companies have adopted end-to-end encryption to further protect consumer privacy and data. End-to-end encryption is a process by which the data from one device is scrambled into a meaningless jumble of information while it's being transferred. The destination or receiving device then serves as the only possible decryption key. This means that when you use Apple's iMessage or Facebook's WhatsApp, your messages are completely unreadable outside of the sender and receiver. The NSA and other governments have petitioned big tech companies to give them special decryption keys, allowing them to bypass end-to-end encryption. But doing that would completely negate the end-to-end part of that encryption. So, thankfully, our tech overlords have yet to submit to these outrageous claims. It seems that the government battle with tech companies for data is just getting started. Thankfully, it also seems that the majority of folks who really understand how all of this works are sitting at the tech company side of the table and not with the NSA. What do you think about all of this? Should the NSA be able to jump into your iPhone whenever they want and poke around for possible threats? Or is this a slippery slope that will lead to an even bigger Orwellian surveillance nightmare than we have thought possible? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to check back for more tech news.